And welcome to the Tournament Center. Randy Buehler here with Brian David-Marshall. Day 2 of Pro Tour Honolulu is in the books. We've got our top 8. A lot of fresh faces, a lot of familiar faces, but fresh to Sunday.
Right. So yeah, some overlap between the fresh and familiar. We have 6 players playing in the top 8 of a Pro Tour for the first time in their career.
Yes.
But not unknown quantities.
Right.
Absolutely. Christophe Gregoire, who was featured in our Pro Tour Honolulu Beach House video.
Yes.
Is making his first top 8.
Yeah, the Belgian's been on the gravy train for a couple of years. He's been doing very well.
Paul Reitzel in second place. Longtime East Coast player who's living in
Absolutely.
California. GP juggernaut.
Yes. Every time the Grand Prix circuit comes back to California, Paul gets back on the Pro Tour.
And really a Pro Tour top 8 bridesmaid.
Yeah.
Feels like he's always in the running and came
Yeah,
back.
he goes way back. I mean, his nickname back in the day was Little Darwin.
Right,
Like,
he's a
grew up as
YMG alum.
A teenager playing at Your Move Games, eventually moves out to California for college. Longtime gravy trainer, finally gets his top 8.
Right. And Zach Hill is certainly a name that Magic players everywhere know.
Yeah, absolutely.
One of the most respected writers in the game. Terrific player. Has his breakout performance here.
You do have a couple of guys, maybe unfamiliar names. Tom Ross, Conley Woods, Michael Hebke, all making their Pro Tour debut as well. Although Conley Woods was in your column a couple weeks ago.
Yeah,
right?
we wrote about him. He qualified with Extendigeddon. He's a rogue deck builder. He's a podcaster. He's a Magic columnist. He's really an exciting young player who has a lot of really interesting ideas about the game. We did a video deck tech with him on his 5-color aggro deck that he used in the constructed format. Very articulate player with some really interesting ideas about the format. Played Ancient Ziggurat in his constructed deck and no Blightning. He said, I would just, I'd rather have good mana to play my creatures than be able to play Blightning. Very interesting player.
The headliners in this top 8, though, Brian Kibler, Kazuya Mitamura.
So Brian Kibler returns to the Pro Tour after what, 4 years away?
Something like that.
Something like that. I mean, he's been a broadcaster, he's been a writer, he's has one top 8 before this.
Which was almost 10 years ago.
Qualifies at drives to Las Vegas from California to PTQ, drives home the same night, I believe.
Sure.
Gets back on the Pro Tour. We talked a lot about a lot of old timers coming back to the Pro Tour for this event. Kibler is certainly the star of that crowd.
Yeah. And Kazuya Mitamura, top 8 number 3 for, one of the best players in the game, really. I mean, this is one of the Japanese guys who's consistently at the top of the Swiss, consistently putting up results. Top 8, number 3 for him.
Right, because Kazuya Mitamura's first Pro Tour was Pro Tour Prague, which is in 2006.
Right, he top 8s. Didn't he?
No, his top 8s are Charleston, but he gets over the 100-point threshold this weekend.
Oh, that's pretty
quick.
That's
3 years to get 100 points. That's a great start to a career.
Absolutely.
Voting in the Hall of Fame this year.
There you go. 9th place, also worth mentioning, by the way, FF Freak, Magic Online legend, comes to the Pro Tour for the very first time. Oh, he puts up 9th place. Here's $7 grand. Welcome to the tour.
Yeah, nice Rookie of the Year
I think Brad's
debut.
going to be around for a while. Brad Nelson is FF Freak. So the other thing that really struck me this weekend is this Alara block constructed format just had a lot more diversity than I think people were expecting.
Absolutely.
You look at the decks that people used to make top 8, there's 2 Esper aggro decks, right? Reitzel and Kibler both got there with Thopter Foundry Glaze Fiend shenanigans.
There were 2 decks in the top 8 of They're actually 2 of the best constructed. One of the best constructed records is a Glaze Fiend deck.
There you go.
Right? That's not something people were talking about at all coming into this event.
You've also got a big Esper deck, you've got a 5-color aggro, you've got a Naya aggro. I mean, the deck that...
Does it even use Alara Reborn cards?
It's got a couple, but I mean, this is the deck that was big before Reborn came out, Battle Grace, although Battle Grace Angel's not as good. Actually, Dauntless Defender is the guy now.
Dauntless Escort, yeah.
Dauntless Escort, sorry. So, a lot going on. And then you do have a couple of the Jund decks that everyone was expecting, but it's only 2 Jund decks, and then a Cruel Control to round things out. So pretty diverse field.
But the format tomorrow...
Booster Draft.
Booster Draft. I'm excited. I'm excited. We haven't gotten a cover of Booster Draft in what, like 3 years it feels like?
You and I both missed Finkel's run. That was the last Booster Draft top 8.
I was kind of happy to sit home and watch that, though.
I was watching too. I was up, absolutely. Now, who actually drafted well? These guys played 10 rounds of constructed. It was, Kibler and Zach Hill put up the best records?
Yes, of the people who made the top 8, they had the 2 best records. Zach Hill and Kibler had an 8-1-1 record and an 8-1-1 record. Zach was with 5-color control. Kibler was with the Neil Reeves designed Esper aggro deck.
Worth mentioning while we're on the constructed subject, though, the guy with the best record in constructed on the weekend, Jim Davis.
Yeah, creator of Garfield. No.
Different Jim Davis. 9-1, 27 points out of constructed, but only picked up 4 points in booster draft.
And I know Jim.
33rd.
Jim's a formidable drafter. It's kind of shocking that he won 4 and won that.
There you go. But who should we look for in the draft? Who actually ran the table?
Now I'm sure we're going to be looking over Kibler's shoulder come tomorrow. But, I mean, maybe we should be looking over Kazuya Mitamura's shoulder.
Yeah, maybe.
Hey, he's 6-0'd the draft portion. Tom Ross, who's been grinding it out on Moto.
Yeah, he's been playing a lot lately.
6-0'd the draft portion. And Conley Woods, who's a guy,
the rogue
deck builder. We did a video segment, and he actually likened drafting to rogue deck building. Right? He said you get all these disparate pieces, you don't really know what you're going to have to work with, and then you have to pull something together on the fly. So he really likes drafting, really likens it to the deck construction process that has sort of catapulted him to some popularity.
Ran the table at 6-0, so be interesting to look for. I mean, nobody did bad in draft,
Nobody did bad. We had 3-5-1, Christoph, Paul Reitzel, and Michael Hebke from Czechoslovakia.
Sure.
Or Czech Republic.
Yeah.
All went 5-1. And Zach Hill and Brian Kibler went 4-2. So nobody stunk up the joint drafted.
You got multiple. It's funny. Do we have another Mark Herberholz coming out of the beach house angle on this?
Certainly, we have 2 beach houses represented, although only one that we featured.
Okay, so this year the coverage went to the Belgian beach house, right?
Correct.
Where Christophe Gregoire, he could be this year's Herberholz, right? He's in the video and then shows up and wins the top 8.
But Paul Reitzel and Brian Kibler
are
staying at Mark Herberholz's beach house.
Herberholz beach house, yeah. It's funny, if you look at Paul Reitzel too, his hands are destroyed this weekend. He's out swimming in the coral, he's like bleeding, his feet are all messed up. He just apparently went swimming one night and just tore up his hands and his feet on the coral.
Yeah, apparently his feet look like John McClane from the first Die Hard movie.
Yeah, that sounds about right. It's just like Kurt Schilling with the bloody socks or something. He's playing hurt this weekend, but
didn't one of his opponents ask him to not bleed on his cards?
It's a true story. Lots going on. Who's your pick for tomorrow?
Boy, it's really tough for me. I think that this might be Kazuya Mitamura's. This might be his weekend. I mean, he's playing phenomenal Magic all weekend. He's 6-0'd the draft. He didn't seem to break a sweat under the hot lights of the feature match area, which he would seem to be in here throughout day 2. Just playing great Magic. I feel like it might be his weekend. What about you?
Mitamura is a good pick. Paul Reitzel can really play. He's just when the Grand Prix comes to town and he finishes in the money, gets back on the Pro Tour again. I mean, it just feels like he's gotten a couple of bad breaks over the years, never quite got the top 8, but he's a really sharp player. I actually think Paul can make a run. He seems to be on top of his game yet again. He's comfortable. I don't know. I think he can really make a run at this.
Brian Kibler made a clean sweep at day 1.
It's true. No, Kibler's good. I mean, there's a lot of storylines.
Zach Hill also clean sweep at day 1.
Zach Hill's a good pick. He's playing some great Magic right now too, no question about it. Yeah. I mean, the whole loose fellowship. He's been living in Malaysia. It's a really good story. If you go read that, go watch that Deck Tech as well and see what he's been up to. It's really, really inspiring.
There's actually a lot of footage you can watch from people in this top 8. we did video segments with Christophe Gregoire, with Zach Hill, with Brian Kibler, with Tom Ross, and with Conley Woods. And we also have a video piece with Brad Nelson, who's in 9th.
Right.
So, you can really catch up and get a feel for these guys overnight.
Lots been going on here at Pro Tour Honolulu. We'll be back in the morning. It'll be 11 a.m. in Honolulu for the top 8 draft. So that's 2 p.m. on the east coast of the U.S., 5 p.m. on the west coast of the U.S. Perfect timing. Settle in. Brian and I will be there. We'll be watching the draft. We'll be watching the matches. We're going to find out who's going to hold the big check, who's going to win the 40 grand, who are we going to remember as the Pro Tour Honolulu champion. Tune in tomorrow. We'll be there.